What's up, guys? It's Johnny Candido of Candido Training HQ, and as you can tell by the title, the theme of this video is the fact that I am squatting high, because what I've done is I've switched from the Olympic style squatting to now the hybrid squat, which is just a wider stance, still with a high bar position. So I'm getting used to this, and it's kind of funny because I think this is actually the first time in my entire life that I've ever squatted high bar above parallel or just failed to hit below parallel convincingly. And because the only time before that I did that, I think, was actually when I low bar squatted, and it was when I low bar squatted 515, and that one was high. But so I mean, really what this comes down to is it's just a matter of getting used to it and adjusting my perception of depth to the stance width. Because when looking at it, looking in the mirror from the front, to me it looked like I was below parallel. But then obviously from the side view, you'll see here especially, you see I'm not even at parallel. I'm above parallel for that one. Now it does vary depending on the rep. On the first rep on each set, for some reason I squat significantly higher than the later ones. I think I just get used to the movement and get deeper into the groove. However, what I also want to talk about in this, because I have a decent amount of time since this is my hypertrophy workout, so I'm doing 5 sets of 8 of 385 pounds, and I'm not using a belt still. And it's funny because without using a belt and with the high bar position, I find that it's just very hard for me to even unrack the weight and get into my setup. For some reason, it's just uncomfortable for me because I'm so used to low bar squatting with a belt. But anyways, what I also wanted to talk about was my body weight, because there's 176 pounds going into this workout. And before the last leg workout, I told you I was 174 or 172 to 174. And I was considering dropping a weight class body weight wise. But actually, I was talking to Nick Wright of NWB. You know, I'm helping him out with powerlifting, and he was telling me about body weight wise, he thinks that I should just focus on gaining weight. And he obviously has more experience with fluctuating weight as far as, because he cut for bodybuilding shows, and I've never cut weight at all, at least not to significant extent. So that was kind of enlightening, thinking about the fact that I probably would lose a decent amount of strength if I cut to 163. And honestly, outside of just trying to place as high as possible in competitions, I just want to squat 600 pounds. That's a huge goal of mine. So if I cut, that would really make that difficult. Now for this 4th set, I'm fast forwarding here because even though this camera angle seemed like a good idea, and it looks good when I'm unracking the weight, it just is very awkward, as you'll see. Anyways, something I noticed, and why I'm including it too and pausing it here real quick, is I noticed that my left arm, I've done this before too, my left arm, the elbow flares up. And I've noticed that impacts my posture, and I rotate a little bit sometimes while squatting. So I'm definitely going to focus on fixing that moving forward. Alright, one more set. I don't care how long I need to rest for this. I don't care if I miss it. I'm going to do whatever it takes to try my best to get this last set of 8 reps. Alright, let's do this. Alright, so as I mentioned there during the workout, I went into this set just willing to give whatever it took just to get every rep up. And this is kind of a benefit of this part of the gym now is open 24/7, as well as the other part that has the Olympic plates and all that. So I'm able to just get as focused as possible, and you see nobody is in the gym at all, which definitely helped me just get in the zone. And this is something, as you see, just my focus here, that I want to make it clear that a lot of my channel is about technique, it's about just nuances when it comes to strength training. That I think sometimes it's easy to get off track of what actually matters. In the end of the day, it doesn't matter all these tiny little details if you're just not actually putting in that work, and if you're not in the mind state of being in the moment rather than trying to explain your performance. And that's something it's very easy for someone who is more cerebral, who does think things through, to say, okay, this is why this workout went this way, and think of that during the workout. But you have to just leave the analysis behind and just put in the work and then let it fall where it may, and then try to think your way through it moving forward with your programming. So that separation is crucial, and you see here I'm completely gassed after that set. Afterwards, I did my sets of the deadlift variation, and I did stiff-legged deadlifts. And I want to talk about this too, because someone asked me if they think just high bar squats and stiff leg deadlifts would then translate to full development for conventional deadlifts and possibly low bar squats. And I strongly believe that is the case, because I've done that personally myself. I've done only high bar squats and only stiff leg deadlifts for like a 7-month period, and then went back to conventional deadlifts and hit a huge PR, as if it was just like I was training that lift the whole time. Because obviously with the squat, the one muscle group where you're missing out on is hamstring development, or at least to a significant extent. So stiff-legged deadlifts, if you do it like how I'm doing it here, you will absolutely hammer your hamstring. And I want to talk about how I perform the stiff leg deadlift as well, where you see that I really am not a big fan of lumbar flexion when deadlifting. You see a lot of people, they round their lower backs, and personally I think one of the worst exercises, even though I might get some flack for this, I think the deficit stiff leg deadlift is one of the worst exercises you could do. If you're not, at least if you're concerned about your health and general well-being, and you want to pull a conventional deadlift with a flat back, which is going to be safer, then there's no reason to do a stiff leg deadlift off a deficit, because you are going to round your back, because doing it how I'm doing it here requires an immense amount of hamstring flexibility. So there's no chance with a deficit I could pull with a flat back. And keep in mind, I'm talking about pulling stiff leg deadlift and a deficit, not just a deficit or just stiff leg. I just don't think you should do the combination at the same time. But that's just my opinion. Here you see I have a close-up view here, so you can see that I keep the bar a little bit further away from me. And I do this intentionally because I'm trying to keep my shins as vertical as possible, and I'm not necessarily trying to sit back too much, because then I'll involve my glutes. I'm trying to keep my hips up high, but then still just tilting at the pelvis and getting that horizontal, that forward lean that I want, so I can get a stretch on my hamstrings. And if you're doing this correctly, you'll really feel it on your hamstrings right when you break it off the floor. And with the way I do these, at least for myself, I can say that I feel no lumbar erector soreness whatsoever. And that's partially why I love using deadlift variations, because then it gives yourself a break, if you can do them properly, from the regular soreness that you get from really heavy conventional deadlifts. And after the stiff leg deadlifts, then I hit up some hamstring curls, as you see here. As far as hamstring activation, I think that hamstring curls can be useful just for building muscle. For powerlifting itself, I really don't think that there's a significant carryover, but I also have noticed that before I'd have some hamstring tightness when deadlifting or after deadlifting, I think that the hamstring curls have helped as far as sort of a prehab type of movement. Nothing increases your squat like a good set getting a pump with them calf raises. A comment pointed out in my 5-rep max progression over about 2-year period, my calves actually did get smaller. So hopefully I can reverse that and get some calf growth going. But anyways, make sure to like the video, support the channel, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching, guys. Peace.